Hey, this is Matt Cox, and this is The Grind. In today's vlog, I'm going to be talking about the girlfriend. I probably mentioned this before, that, basically I had so much time when I first got sentenced and locked up, and I really thought I was going to be getting out when I was like 60 years old. So what ended up happening was, I just kind of resigned myself to the fact that I was never going to be like dating again. I assumed I'd get out when I was 60, I'd be broke, I would be spending the next 5 or 10 years trying to plan for some kind of a retirement, and I just didn't think, that getting out and meeting anybody was an issue, or sorry, not an issue, but I didn't think getting out and meeting anyone was going to, I just didn't think it was going to happen. I just kind of put it out of my mind. So, by the time I actually got my sentence reduced and I realized, wow, I'm going to be out and I'm going to be like 49 years old, it was like, wow, well, maybe, like I did another video on like dating, and I was like, wow, maybe I might end up meeting somebody. So when I did get, I remember all my buddies were like, of course, all these guys when they get out, they're all like, bro, first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get laid, I'm gonna this, I'm gonna that. But that's not, that's just not really, it's not really my style. And I was like, look, I'm gonna meet somebody. Eventually I'll meet somebody. I'm gonna take it slow and I'll figure it out and I'll meet somebody. And all the guys were like, well, what kind of chick do you like? And I remember thinking that I wanted to date. I used to joke around all the time. I used to say, I want to find a chick that, she's got some tats, she's a little rough around the edges, probably been married a couple of times, maybe she was a stripper at one point, the kind of chick that you can, that if you get out of line, she'll punch you in the arm, kind of like tomboy, but sexy, so I just, that's kind of what I remember I used to say, the kind of chick that'll call the cops on you, but she'll bail you out the next day. So I used to joke about that all the time. But it is kind of a rough and tumble kind of girl that's kind of a tomboy, and it's kind of the kind of girl, that I like. And what it ends up happening is I get out and I go to the halfway house. There's like 100 people there, and they've got, I don't know how many rooms they have. Maybe 10 or 11 rooms, maybe 12, because there's about 8 or 9 people per room. And so as soon as I get there, look, the makeup is basically like prison. It's about 70%, black guys, or in this case, black guys and black chicks. And then you've got, Spanish, probably 25-30% Spanish, and there's maybe 5 to 10 white guys at the most, and whatever, out of the 10, there was, so let's say there's 4 or 5 white chicks, maybe, actually I think there was only like 2 or 3 white chicks, and then there was 4 or 5 white guys. So as soon as I get there, I immediately see this chick sitting with another woman and a couple of guys, and I look over and I think, wow. I mean, she looks amazing. So, brown hair, about my height, I'm 5'6", and she says I'm 5'5", and she's 5'6" or 5'7". It's not true. We're both 5'6". So the next morning, I'm getting my breakfast, and I end up sitting at a table with her, and one of the women was named Tina, and she was locked up for like a Ponzi scheme or something. And then there was Jess, which was the chick with brown hair. Jess was locked up for a drug conspiracy. There was like a 40-man methamphetamine conspiracy, and she was I don't think she'll have a problem with me saying this. She was a drug addict that was selling drugs to pay for her habit. And there were a couple of guys there, a guy named Justin, and I forget, there's some other guy. Anyway, they instantly hated my guts. So what ends up happening is, and I don't think Jess liked me either. She told me when she first looked at me, she thought, wow, this guy, I think she didn't say sociopath, but she said, and she wasn't interested at all. That's what she says. So, and then of course, she was also, she'd met a girl in federal prison, and, Jess she's been married, and, clearly she's dated guys, but she's also dated women. And so when she was locked up in federal prison, she ended up meeting somebody. And she basically was saying, hey, I've got a girlfriend. And the girlfriend had already gotten out. And that they basically were still seeing each other. They were dating. But the girlfriend lives in Tennessee. We sit down. I talk to everybody. Everybody's nice. I immediately get a job working at a gym. And within, let's say, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe less than, I'd say probably a week. But every morning I would end up eating with everybody. We would all wake up really early. You wake up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning. You're eating at 6 or 7 in the morning. I end up eating with Jess, and the one chick that was there, her name is Tina, and she was always asking questions. So I end up talking, which I talk a lot anyway, but she certainly gave me the opportunity to talk. I end up talking to Tina, and Jess is there, and this goes on for, every day for weeks. And I ended up I bought this cell phone. I bought it, my first phone was a really cheap Android. It came with the plan, and it immediately got a virus, and it kept shutting off and freezing up. So I kept asking Jess, can you help me? So anyway, so we ended up talking a lot, and we joked around a lot. She used to joke with me all the time and say, she's always joked that she was taller than me, and we would just joke back and forth about different things. And we were both working out all the time, and so at some point, we start texting back and forth. So now we're texting constantly. And I remember we were joking around all the time, and this is going to sound messed up, but she used to joke all the time, tell me that I had little tiny T-Rex arms. I mean, just, oh. And she would just make fun of me and pick on me. And so, so we're laughing and stuff. We're having fun. So I remember one point, Tina, or was it Tina or one of the guys said, they were asking about, dating or something. Oh, you work at a gym, you must see women all the time. And I said, yeah, they're there, but I said, I don't really pay much attention. I mean, I'm not in a position to really date anybody. And I said, plus they're not really the kind of chicks that I like. And somebody goes, well, what kind of chicks do you like? And I said, chick with, some tats, kind of a tomboy kind of chick, kind of a, and so I kind of started describing, the kind of chick I liked. And somebody said, oh, what about Jess? You ought to date Jess, or something along those lines. And I looked at Jess, and she kind of glanced at me, and I said, Jess is about 20 pounds away from being dateable. And let me tell you something. She says I wasn't mad because I knew I was a little bit overweight. She says that she was furious. And I remember Tina was like, Jess is perfect. She's perfect. She was 20 pounds overweight. So she goes, so you think I should be 120, 130, 135? And I went, yeah, 130, 135. I said, that's about what you should weigh. So we go back and forth, and we're laughing and joking with each other. We're texting all the time. And at some point, I'm in my room after count. So it's 10 o'clock at night. They shut off the lights. And I was in a room there's 8 black guys and me. So the black guys are constantly joking around with me and stuff. So they say, yo, Cox, what's up with that chick? That chick you always talking to? And I went, who? I go, Jess? And they go, yeah, the white girl with the brown hair. I said, with tats. And I was like, yeah. I said, Jess? I said, what about her? And they said, you hitting that or whatever they said. I said, nah, you guys. I said, first of all, she's got a girlfriend. Secondly, she's 30, 31 years old. I'm 49 years old. I mean, she's 18 years younger than me. So they end up saying well, you ever text her? And I went, oh yeah, we text. How many times a day you text her? I said, a lot, 30, 40 times a day. I don't know. They go, you ever talk to her on the phone? I went, yeah. They said, who you were talking to the other night? And I said, that was Jess. And they were like, nah, bro, that girl, she likes you, bro. She likes you. And I went, nah, she don't like me. That's not, you don't know what you're talking about. So I start paying attention. I start thinking, I think she does like me. She's texting me a lot. And she's saying stuff like, hey, when are you going to get here? Do you get off? What time do you get off? I'll wait and have dinner with you. And, so we're going back and forth. There's little tiny things. And she says, no, yeah, but you took that all out of context because I wasn't interested. It's just, stop. whatever. Anyway, which makes no sense at all because we're dating. So what happens is at some point, my phone, it ends up getting the virus keeps coming back. So I say to her, hey, can you help me with my phone? It's messed up again. And she goes, okay, come here. So I sit there and she's playing with it. And she goes, okay, well, what's your password? I go, it's cat69. And she goes, 69, huh? Like that. And I go, I said, no. I said, no. I said, it's the year of my birth. And she goes, oh, okay. And so she's playing with the phone and she goes, and I could see her calculating in her head. And she goes, you're 50? Because think about it, this was over a year ago. She goes, you're 50? And I went, no, I'm 49. I'll be 50 in a few months. Well, the look on her face was just like, wow. And I said, why? How old did you think I was? And she goes, I thought 40, maybe 45. She goes, I didn't think you were 50. And I go, well, I'm not 50, I'm 49. And I said, why? Is it an issue? And she goes, she got this look on her face. She goes, my dad's 55. And I just remember thinking, oh my God. And listen, after that, the next day, like the text like almost completely stopped. Like I text her and I'm like, hey, what's going on? How's your day? And she's like, fine. I'm like, hey, when are you going to be back from work? And she's like, late. I mean, just one word responses, or if she responds at all. So I knew at that point, okay, something's up that she's behaving this way. She was thinking one way. And I didn't really think she was thinking that way, but clearly something happened. She was obviously texting me and hanging out with me and spending so much time with me because something's going through her mind, and now it's not. It takes like how long does it take? It takes about a week or so and she starts texting me again. And so now we're texting all the time. Well, what ends up happening is she ends up leaving. They send her to home confinement, and she lives in this little town outside Sarasota, Florida, and it's about an hour away from Tampa. Anyway, we texted periodically, and then I ended up leaving the halfway house, and then I ended up I did a podcast for Concrete. So I do this podcast and it starts like really getting a lot of hits. I think I got like 500,000 hits maybe in like the first month. And then like after like 2 months, it was like at 1 million. So one day she texts me and she says, hey, what are you doing? How's it going? And I said, oh, I'm doing good. I just did this podcast. I got out of the halfway house. I just did this podcast. It's doing really well. And I sent her the podcast. So she watches the podcast. She comes back and she's like, wow, that's great. That's so, that I'm glad you're doing well. And I said, she said, so we text a little bit. One of the things that made me think she liked me was when we were texting back and forth, she sent me a picture one time and she looked great. And I went, wow, Jess, I said, have you lost weight? And she goes, yeah, I'm trying to get down to that 135 dateable. And she says, I didn't say dateable. I said 135. And now she weighs like 130. So, I think she said 135 dateable because I remember thinking, whoa, you've lost a bunch of weight. You're sending me pictures of yourself saying you're trying to get down to the weight that I told you was the weight that would make you basically dateable. Now, maybe it's an asshole thing to say, whatever. The point is that I was like, this chick definitely likes me. And I said, hey, do you want to go to dinner sometime? And she goes, yeah, we can go to dinner. Well, I mean, as friends. And I came back and we were texting and I went, friends? I said, well, I don't want to go to dinner as friends. I've already got friends, so I don't need any more friends. And she came back, she goes, well, I'm seeing somebody. And I said, yeah, I understand, but you're seeing a girl that's in Tennessee. So, do you want to go out on a date? And she goes, well, if it's a date, then no. I said, okay, don't worry about it. So maybe a week or two later, she comes back and she says, hey, what are you doing? How's it going? And I said, it's going great. And she said, I've been thinking about you. And I went, well, that's great. We should go to dinner. And she goes, okay, we can go to dinner. She goes, as friends. And I went, listen, Jess, I don't want to go to dinner with you as a friend. She goes, well, why can't we be friends? I said, because there's nothing more useless than having a hot chick as a friend. It's it's absolutely ridiculous. So I said, absolutely not. I said, the entire time we would be seeing each other, I'd be thinking about how am I going to get you into bed, and you would be thinking that we were legitimately friends, and we're just not. I said, so if you want to be friends, I said, then forget it. And she goes, okay, well then we're not going to go to dinner. I said, absolutely fine. A couple more weeks go by. She comes back and she says, and so I text her. I text her periodically, every couple of days, and she says, hey, what's up? And so it comes back at some point, and she says, okay, we can go to dinner. She says, let's just not label it. We'll just go and see what happens. And I said, okay, that's fine. So we set up a time, or we set up a day we're going to go, and she said, I'll call you when I get off work. Never calls me. Oh, never calls. I was so pissed. And I never text her. Because I'm trying to get her to the point where she's making the moves, where she's asking those questions. I'm trying to get, or when are we going to meet? Trying to get her to that point. So she's just not taking the bait. So nothing. I don't hear from her at all. So then maybe a couple days go by. I'm so mad. A couple days go by, and she comes back and she says, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I know you're angry, but I worked late. This broke down and this happened, and I was there till 12 o'clock or whatever. Your phone still works. Okay, great. When do you want to go have dinner?" She says, "Oh, whatever, Tuesday or whatever." Tuesday comes and goes, nothing. Oh, so now I'm furious. So I said, look, I think she came back and she said, "I know you're angry. I'm sorry. I forget what the excuse was this time." Listen, this goes on 3 times. I think she always says, no, it was twice. It was 3 times. 3 times because we were supposed to meet on a Saturday, and on the Saturday, her sister called her and asked her to watch her kids, and she's like, "Look, I had no choice. They're my nieces and nephews. My sister never asked me to do anything. I had to help her out. What am I supposed to do?" Oh my God, I was so angry. So, but what am I? I can't say I'm angry. I mean, I look like a dickhead. Then I'm like, so I was like, no, it's no problem. I totally understand. That's fine. She knew I was pissed. Anyway, what happens is maybe about 2 weeks later, 2-3 weeks later, we finally go to dinner. We end up going to dinner. We go to Bonefish Grill, and we're supposed to meet. And she calls me and says, "Hey, look, I'm on my way." And I go, and I remember I pulled into like a CVS or something, like a pharmacy type thing, like Eckerd's or something. I pull in there in the parking lot because I didn't want to get there first. So I'm sitting in the parking lot waiting for Jess to show up, and I'm talking to my friend Tammy, and Tammy's going, "What are you doing meeting this girl? She's got a drug problem. What if she starts using drugs?" And I was like, she's not going to use drugs. She went to prison. She went through the RDAP program. She's totally acceptant of all the things that she did, and she doesn't have a problem anymore. She's great. She's amazing, and I like her. And she said, "Well, you said she's gay. She's dating some girl. What are you doing?" And I was like, "Look, what does it matter? I mean, she clearly likes guys too." And I said, "And what does it matter?" She's like, "She told you she's not interested in you." And I said, "Yeah, you're right." I said, "So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to dinner. And when I go to dinner, I said, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to make her laugh. We're going to joke around. We're going to have fun. And at the end of the night, I'm going to kiss her." And I said, "And if she kisses me, then I know. If she says, absolutely not, I told you I'm not interested," and I felt like she was interested. So if she says, "Hey, I'm not interested, I told you," then I know. Now I know. That's the catalyst. That's the defining moment where I say, okay, now I know, and we're good, and we're done. I don't, that's it. I don't text you anymore. I'll stop thinking about you. I'll just move on. Anyway, I show up at the restaurant. She shows up. Keep in mind, I've only seen her in sweat clothes and like her maid's uniform, because she worked as a maid or a cleaning woman, whatever you want to call them, a cleaning woman at a hotel during she worked at the halfway house. So she shows up and just looks amazing. Tight pants, long sleeve shirt, makeup. Never seen her with makeup. Hair's curled. I mean, just looks great. Gives me this long hug, and we go inside. We have a great time. We eat. It's great. Everything's wonderful. We're having a good time, and she's laughing at everything I say. And I'm not that funny. So I really, by the end of the night, by the end of dinner, I felt like, yeah, things are going good. So then we go to a movie, but we can't go to the movie because it's full. So it fills up and we can't get tickets. So we go back to the car and we're going to get in the car, and we get in the car and she says, well, you want to go to another theater? You want to find another movie? What do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to sit in the car and make out all night. I go, what do you want to do? And she goes, well, and she kind of gives me this look, and I thought, oh, hell no. So we start making out. Listen, we made out for I'd say 2 or 3 hours. We made out so long, my lips were chapped for 3 days afterwards. It was that bad. And I mean, just like a couple of kids. And it was just, and I remember the whole time we're making out, we would stop every once in a while and she'd go, I told myself I wasn't going to kiss you. I wasn't going to kiss you. So if you weren't interested in me, you've never been interested in me, then why were you telling yourself you weren't going to kiss me? You've clearly had this conversation with yourself. It's obviously been a topic of thought. So we start seeing each other, and we live so far away from each other. I remember we were meeting at hotel rooms and stuff. And I remember it was so funny because one time, because when you get to the halfway house, you typically, everybody would buy these backpacks. Everybody in the halfway house has a backpack. You buy them, they're like a cheap black backpack. So she had one. So we meet at a hotel one time. We get there, we both get out of our vehicles and go to walk to the hotel. We both have the black backpack, which was funny. We get to the hotel, we sit them down, when we start to unpack our stuff, we both pull out the same clear toiletry bag that we both bought at Coleman Prison. She was in the camp and she bought this clear plastic bag, and I had the same bag, both of them from Coleman. So we both pull them out and sit them down. We look at each other, we just start laughing. So we just had a lot in common because we were both starting over, and it was just a good place to be. And it was funny because nobody else would know that. We have all these inside jokes. So we start seeing each other, but she's still seeing this girl in Tennessee, and she's kind of on the fence, do I want to date this guy? What am I going to do? To me, I'm all in. And I remember she's on the fence. She's going back and forth. Do I keep seeing him? And then, look, there were times she'd say, look, this isn't going to work out. We can't see each other. And I would say, what are you talking about? We'd go back and forth, and then we'd stop seeing each other for a few days, and then I'd stop texting. I'd stop returning any text for 3 days, and 3 days later she'd send me a text. She's like, look, I gotta see you, please. Can you? And then we'd meet, and then everything was great again for a month, and then it would be the same thing. So she would go back and forth, back and forth. Eventually she ditches the girlfriend. We start seeing each other, and we end up having to tell our probation officers, right? So because every month we have to fill out a report saying, hey, are you associating with felons? So we end up, it's approaching, and I'm saying, let's just not mention it. And she's saying, no, absolutely, we have to mention it. We have to tell them. So we end up coordinating it. So we both contact our probation officers at the exact same time and tell them that we've been seeing each other and we want to keep seeing each other. And they're like, okay, it basically the relationship just started and you did know each other before. So we're going to let you see each other. The truth is they have a lot of control over you. And if they said you're not seeing each other, then you're not seeing each other. And I remember my probation officer was like, look, you're not moving in together right away. See how it goes. And then, if you want to move in with her, let me know. So it's kind of the point where it's been, 5-6 months or whatever it's been, maybe 6 months. So we've been seeing each other, and so I need to find a place to live. I have to get out of the place I'm staying right now, because the place I'm staying right now, it's cramped. Everything is just packed. I'm packed in this place. So I would need to get a 1-bedroom apartment that I can just make the living room and dining room, basically set it up like a studio, an art studio, and a YouTube studio. So I have to move. I have to get my own place. So I want to move in September. So I want to get a place in September. We went back and forth about it. She said, look, she's balancing like work and school, and she's like, look, I'm not positive I can afford half the rent, and the places I want to live are, you know, they're not cheap, but I think it's important to have a decent place to live. I'm going to be there 24 hours a day. I almost never to leave the house unless I go to see my mother. So we find a couple of places, and I'm ready to move in and sign a lease, and she basically was like, look, we need to wait. And I said, no, absolutely not. You know, I want to move in as soon as possible. I need to move in just to continue doing what I'm doing. And so she said, look, she said, no, I think we should wait until November. I think we should wait till the end of October or the beginning of November, and that's when we'll know if I can continue to go to school full time and how much money I'll be able to make working part-time to full-time also. Like, I don't really know yet because I haven't started and I don't know what the shifts are. And so just give me a few more, you know, give me another month or so. And I said, absolutely not. I said, we are moving in September to our own place. And so basically we're waiting till November because, you know, she's basically wearing the pants of the family. I mean, she's basically running things, so I don't really have that much to say. But I did I did make a powerful argument, and I think that means something. So anyway, yeah, that's basically where I'm at. And you know what's funny about this is that literally I have done this video. This is the 4th time I've done it. I did it once on a boat in Key West, and I totally botched it. And then I did it again, and I did the video. I did a great job. Like, I really nailed it. And my mic wasn't on. And then I did it again about a week or so ago, and it was horrible. I just did a horrible job. I don't even know what went wrong. I don't know what happened. I missed all these stories, and I missed the whole thing, and I just screwed it up so bad. And then I said, you know what, I just have to do it and cut it up and just do it. So I'll do it again and try and do the best job I can. And this is probably the best job I can. And the reason I wanted to redo it really was because I was just like, Jess deserves me to explain the whole situation better than that. You know, she's amazing, and I'm blessed to be dating this chick. She's awesome. And she's like the only woman I think I've ever dated that genuinely could care less about money. Like, doesn't ever ask me for anything. She's constantly wanting to pay for dinner. She's constantly saying, no, I'll drive to you. You drove last time. Like, the big problem with us moving in together is that her obsession with wanting to pay half of everything and carry her weight. And I keep saying, I will pay. It's going to be my apartment, so I will pay. You want to buy groceries, you buy groceries. And she's like, absolutely not. No, wait, just give me a little bit more time. I just think she's like a super strong chick, and we're great together and pick on each other constantly, mess with each other constantly. And I absolutely know that I'm in love with her. And the reason I know is because I genuinely care about what happens to her. Like, if it didn't work out, like if we broke up tomorrow, I'd be disappointed, but I'll tell you what, I would genuinely want the best for her because she deserves the best. And I just think like it would just totally have been worth it just to have been with her the 6 months that we've been dating. Totally worth it. It would totally be worth it. That's it. That's the vlog. That's about the girlfriend we're dating. Her name is Jess. I think she's great. I think she's awesome. Do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, share the video, listen to all of the commercials. What else? Buy a book. I just came out with a Frank Amadeo book, which is called It's Insanity. Amazing story. I have a book that's out. I only have 4 or 5 books that are out. I think that's pretty much it. So, see ya.